In this video, I'm going to be comparing the Net franchise to the Romancing the Stone franchise. In each case, there's only two movies. I've seen the Net with Sandra Bullock as well as Romancing the Stone. When it comes to the highest Rotten Tomatoes score for each franchise, for some reason, the original movie, The Net, only has a 43%, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it all where the critics are coming from. According to Rotten Tomatoes' description of the movie, quote unquote, lacks sufficient frills. I'm like, in what way exactly? I think the movie absolutely has frills. The concept here is you have this woman who we can tell pretty quickly is rather lonely. She doesn't spend a lot of time with other people. She spends time doing stuff with computers. She's working for a company. She helps to get rid of bugs, glitches, errors, that kind of thing in computer systems. So she has people that she works with, co-workers, but not really any friends. We see that she's living alone. She is a mom that sadly is sick. The mom actually has Alzheimer's, which is really sad. So this girl is alone. She doesn't really have anyone. And then she accidentally stumbles upon this conspiracy because her boss is like, hey, there's something weird going on online. Can you check it out? This girl does that and then finds herself on this site that she wasn't intending to go to. And then she goes on a vacation thinking it's just going to be a vacation. But this guy comes up at first. He seems charming. So she goes along with it and then learns that actually there's something weird going on with him. Her purse is stolen. And then actually her identity is stolen, leading to her having to go on the run. She doesn't know who to trust or who she can turn to. There's this one doctor at first it's on her side, but then unfortunately he ends up dying. So at that point she's basically completely alone. She's trying to outrun the police because she's a fugitive and also find out who stole her identity and why, how to get it back. That ultimately ends up happening by the end of the movie, though admittedly by the end you're still like, she still seems to be alone, so there's stuff that you'd have to do if your identity was stolen in order to get everything fixed. So there's a bit of a sadness there if you think about it. But I think the movie absolutely has frills because you have this lady who has to go on the run, who's a fugitive because her identity is stolen. So the police are after her. She doesn't know who to trust, doesn't know who's behind all this, and is trying to figure it out. How is there not frills there? And also, apparently, there's plot points that are not plausible. I'm like, well, how exactly is that the case? I don't see that at all. What exactly about the movie is unbelievable or implausible? I don't know. I think the premise here makes sense that there's a conspiracy going on, these people trying to make things go politically the way they want to. There's actually a government official that kills himself right at the beginning of the movie, so we're obviously wondering as the audience, what's going on here? Why did that guy shoot himself? And then we learn as the movie goes on the idea that this girl is pretty lonely, works with computers because of the company that she works for, stumbles across this site that's involved in this conspiracy. I think that makes sense. This girl goes on vacation, then identity is stolen. I think that makes sense. And then by the end of the movie, she's learned enough about what's going on to expose the people behind this and get her identity back. I think that makes sense. So what exactly about the movie is implausible? I don't get it at all. And you got Romancing the Stone, which obviously is a classic from the great director Robert Zemeckis, who has done several classics. Romancing the Stone is like Indiana Jones. It's also an adventure film. The difference is that you have this romance novelist that is writing these adventure stories that then get swept up in the adventure that she writes books about. You have Michael Douglas in there. When you compare these two movies, The Net and Romancing the Stone, honestly, one of them, Romancing the Stone, is a classic. The other one, The Net, I wouldn't say is a classic in the same way. I don't know who actually directed it. But when it comes to highest Rotten Tomatoes score, Romancing the Stone is an 86%. The Net only is a 43%. Romancing the Stone wins there. Then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, the Net 2.0, which is direct-to-video follow-up, only is a 35%. And then Jewel of the Nile, sequel to Romancing the Stone, only is a 48%. Romancing the Stone wins this round. Then when you look at average score, Romancing the Stone, 67. The Net only has an average of 39. Romancing the Stone wins again. Then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, you got a gap of 8% between the Net and the Net 2.0. With Romancing the Stone, you have a gap of 38 between Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. So the Net wins this round, but already Romancing the Stone is going to win this debate regardless of my personal opinion. And let's look at that now. Which franchise do I prefer? This comes down to what movie do I like more, The Net or Romancing the Stone? It's an interesting one because honestly, I think that both movies succeed in doing exactly what they're setting out to do. It's just one of these movies is a classic, is known by more people, and got a lot more positive reviews. The other one, The Net, which came out in the 90s, has Sandra Bullock in it. It wasn't as big of a hit. I could go with Romancing the Stone just because it's more well known. It's from a director that people actually remember, whereas the director of The Net is just not as big of a name, not as well known. With Robert Zemeckis, I know that he also did Back to the Future, classic sci-fi time travel. He did Forrest Gump, classic feel-good drama. He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, fantastic blend of live-action animation. And thus, it's a fantastic movie. Whereas if The Net, I don't know if the guy who directed this one has done anything else, how well received other movies were. Now, which movie do I actually prefer? I this is certainly something other people would disagree with, but frankly, I would personally choose The Net because I think it's just a really interesting, creative premise. I think the acting is good, the story is engaging, movie visually looks good. I frankly don't really have any issues with the movie personally. I think it should have gotten much better reviews than it actually did. That'll be it for this video.